Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and wherever you are watching us in the world. Welcome to Pep Talks in the Morning. It is Friday, 1st of May, and it's also TGIF, not the food that I am missing so desperately, but it's the end of the week, the day that we get to relax for, because for some of us, we do the show Monday to Friday, and it's a little downtime that we finally get. It is also the 1st of May, which I begin to celebrate as my birth month for all those who watch the program. Yesterday, my birthday is on May the 18th, and if I continuously remind you about it, it's because I am excited, COVID 19 or not. Joining me this morning on air, we have Miss Natalia Moore, who is the PEP Youth Arm Leader. Good morning, Natalia.
Good morning, Felicia, and happy birthday month. Celebrate all month.
Woo! Yes, I agree. And also joining us this morning is Tahira Mehadio, who is the PEP Youth Arm Leader for the Central Hub. Good morning, Tahira.
Good morning, Felicia.
I have been trying to get these two young ladies on the program at the same time since the show started because I would love and always wanted to have a youth driven show and an entire show dedicated to the youth, dedicated to them and their opinions and by the nice young fresh green looks on their faces. You can tell I got two very nice young ladies to talk politics with me, which is something that many people think youths are not interested in and don't want to talk about. But as these two young ladies would show you a little bit later on in the program, politics is very much at the forefront of the minds of the youth. Maybe they're just fed up of politics as it is right now in Trinidad and Tobago. But before we get into the topics that we have outlined today, let's touch on some current events. And the top story in terms of current events this morning, and please at this moment take the time to share the live video on your newsfeed to your friends, in your groups, on your pages, because we want you to join and we want everybody to be a part of the discussion this morning. Top story, Digicel asked employees to take a temporary pay cut, and we just threw this one in about 5 minutes before we started the show this morning because we are in a COVID 19 pandemic. Everything that we are doing right now is reflective of what is taking place right now, not just in Trinidad, but across the world. And we have been talking about the economic impact, which many knew was coming. Maybe we were very reluctant to admit that it was coming, but now it is here. So if you're working digital, if you know somebody who's working digital, chances are that starting today, they would be on the payroll for a temporary salary reduction. They're saying managers that get the highest salaries will get a 20% cut, while employees at the lower salary levels will be asked to take a 5% reduction. The chairman and all non-executive directors will waive their entire salaries for the first quarter of the fiscal year. It is said that if you are on a salary of US $10,000 or less, you will not be impacted or affected by this decision. It takes place, the salary cuts go into effect from today, the 1st of May, and will last for the next 11 months. Given the dire economic situation that the world has begun to experience, this measure is necessary in order to keep as many people as possible at Digicel, as well as to ensure company continuity, the company said. Now, ladies, from what we were starting to discuss, we seem to have a differing view on it. I'll ask Natalia, please let me know what you think about this decision by the board of Digicel to ask their employees, well, particularly those who are making over $10,000 annually, to take a either 5% or 20% pay cut if you're making at the highest levels of digital payroll salaries. Natalia.
Right. So, my issue with this pay cut in particular is how long it's going to last. 11 months. So, are you telling me that this entire COVID situation is going to last 11 months? Is it going to last 11 months? That's my only issue. Um, because sure, fine, pay cuts is fine, but 11 months, is it that it's going to go into after COVID? You still have to take a pay cut, and that's like 10,000 US yearly, right?
If you're
That's
making less than 10,000 US yearly, you will not be impacted by the pay cut. So about 10,000 US yearly is approximately 12. Jesus Christ. Why am I doing maths on the show? You all know I'm not good at maths. That's approximately, let's say 60, close to $63,000 a year that you're making, which 12 into 60 is 5. So if you're making under roughly 5,000 TT dollars a month, you will not be impacted for the next 11. You will not be impacted by the pay cuts. If you're making over that, though,
that's
they're asking you to either take a 5 or 20% salary. And then I'm asking, it seems
Uh,
like it has already been implemented.
the
um
pay cut,
yeah. Go ahead.
we were, the pay cuts was really started because of the COVID-19, and people have to stay at home and work, and then we have people who had the salary reduced from the company, and some people who got fired, got let go. That is why they had pay cut, lesser hours, less money, and it was because of the COVID-19 and how the extension now with the add-on 2 weeks with the quarantine. We have to ask ourselves if this quarantine thing going longer than it's supposed to
Because
because
I
of
mean,
that pay cut.
everybody still pay their digital bill at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. People still buying
so
phone cards. People need the digital. We need the phone. People still relying on data. So I don't understand if we have this pay cut going with digital, what that means for the people who stay in home right now during quarantine. If there will be another extension, or if there will be other restrictions going around with workplace with more salary cuts.
because I mean, at the end of the day, and for me personally, I still had to pay my internet bill, whether or not because
Yes,
I use internet
yes.
frequently. I still had to pay it. Yes, I get there are people in Trinidad and Tobago who cannot afford to pay their internet bill or pay their phone bill at this current time, and that's fine. And they should take a pay cut. However, 11 months? I don't think so. Probably 2 or 3 months after COVID-19, after the lockdown, so to be able to get themselves back on track, use that 2 or 3 months after the lockdown to get back into a normal job routine, but somewhat normal job routine, get back into having a bit of financial stability in your life, and then you can start back to pay yourself. Then they can reverse the pay cuts. But 11 months? I think it just
Close to
shows
sending
that.
bills normal.
These are my thoughts on the issue. Now, the company where I used to work at is an energy services company, and we all know that in the past 5 to 10 years, the energy industry has been on a steady decline. And one of the first things that happens when an industry is contracting is they let go of employees and staff. And one thing I remember the managing director of the company that I worked at the time said was that we want to keep on as many employees as possible. Our brain force, our capital is human capital. That's what we sell, people. And because it was a maintenance services company, and I remember looking at all of the restructuring that was taking place in the company at the time, trying to move people around in different positions, etc. We never got to a place of salary cuts, but it was something that was put out on the table, because when a company is losing money, when a company cannot afford to operate at the same level that they have to look at austerity measures. They have to look at measures in order to keep afloat, because you're a business at the end of the day. but still be able to keep on the staff that keeps your business going. Now, I'm two minds about this. I'm two minds because I have some questions about it. One, you're asking employees to take, I would assume that, the majority would be taking a 5% cut. A 5% cut if you're making, let's say, $20,000. A 10% cut would be $2,000. 5% of that would be $1,000. So if you're making $20,000, we're asking you to take 5% of your salary, which is $1,000, which in my opinion is not too bad when you think about it. When you think about the fact that it could be a case of, and similarly to where I was working at the time, you could either lose your job or you could agree to take a temporary salary reduction. Now, I'm asking this question in light of what you raised, Natalia, which is that aren't people still paying their bills? I'm hearing of people being threatened to get their stuff cut. So is it that Digicel is losing an enormous amount of money right now? Because that's my first question. Where is the hemorrhage happening? Where are they losing money? Is it because of the deferred payments? Is it because they are, is it because the operational costs right now are just too steep? I'm not understanding, because I know many of the employees are working from home because of this COVID-19. So I would assume that things are, I actually went into a digital store a few days ago, and it seemed to be business as usual, just with the new sanitization measures. So my first question, like I said, would be how much money is Digicel losing that would warrant this decision to take a salary cut for 11 months? That's my question. My second question is why, well, my second question doesn't have to pertain to Digicel so much, because I actually do not think this is such a bad initiative. I would rather lose $1,000 off of my salary than lose my entire salary. I don't know about you all, but if I'm making $20,000, I don't mind giving that up in order to ensure that my friends don't lose their job, that I don't lose my job, that post pandemic I still have my job. But it is interesting that we have a private company that is asking people to take a salary cut when we have a government, and I have to bring it back to the government and to politics because it's everything. We have a government and a cabinet and a parliament that met for the first time in a month to sit and debate on everything other than COVID-19 and the needs of the people. They met on Monday, and we're paying them full salary, and none of them are offering to take a pay cut. So how is it that we have private entities implementing such measures, whereas we have the government that is supposed to be leading by example, unwilling to take or follow the same measures? That is my contribution to this topic. Tahira, you look like you were about to say something.
I think that if the government does take a pay cut with the cabinet ministers, it could really affect the working class, even the people that got sent home, who on salary reduction, who struggling right now with the welfare, the NIS, who need the money right now because they don't have jobs. It could really have an effect on them. So I do agree that the prime minister should take in consideration that his cabinet ministers should take the pay reduction.
Guys, but didn't the Prime Minister say he's going to take a 50% cut for his Digo Martin community? I'm not praising him, but he said it, so I'm waiting to see it go into effect. That's all I'm saying. I'm
Actually,
waiting to see
no,
it go into effect.
that's not what he said. He said that they are not taking pay cuts, but that he did donate 50% of his salary
Yeah.
to his constituency. I managed the Diego Martin West constituency page, and I remember I posted on that page. Steve Rowley said he donated 50% of his salary to you, his burgesses. Did any of you receive that money or benefit from it? There were crickets under the post. I'm going to assume that it did not reach everybody in Diego Martin West, but I'm also going to assume that no, they did not, because chances are it didn't happen. And chances are it didn't happen because there's no way to tell or to track, and chances are it didn't happen because my list of people that I have to donate hampers to, about 20% of them reside in Diego Martin. So, and to make that statement even go even further, about 50 to 60% of them reside in PNM strongholds. PNM strongholds. So my question to Keith Rowley and the rest of his cabinet ministers who stunting for us and telling us we donating money to our constituency. What are you really doing when it is your constituents who are reaching out for the most help? I saw an article from a young lady, the counselor for Sandy Grande, Lahokita Talparo, begging the head of the constituency, which is Mr. Maxi Coffey, to see about the constituency. She said, "We
His
haven't seen
medical
you."
bills could cover that. His medical bills could
Medical
cover that.
bills could have bought groceries for his entire constituency. And when we raise things like that, people say, "Oh gosh, y'all being unfair. A man, y'all questioning the cost of a man's life." No, we're not. But we also the same cost of his life is the same cost of the 29,000 people in Lahokita Talparo. They don't need to survive and live too. That's my question about that. Moving on to the next topic. For those who would have watched Plain Talk last night, we had Mr. Atto Bolden on, a renowned record holder, Atto Bolden, and he came on the show, and I felt like Philip was having an interview with himself because everything Atto was saying is things that Philip and the Progressive Empowerment Party has been saying for the longest while, but also seeing it from an angle that incorporated the sporting element, which of course he represents. And it is so, what stuck out to me, and I particularly wanted to raise it today as I have these youths on the panel, is that corruption and nepotism and bureaucracy seems to have infiltrated. When we say it has infiltrated every sector of the society, we weren't lying because he came on that show last night and let us understand just how deep it has impacted and affected the sporting sector of Trinidad and Tobago. And just like the Atto Bolden Stadium, which was unfortunately, and I have to use the term unfortunately named after a great man, because if you look at the Atto Bolden Stadium right now, it is practically in ruins. You don't even need to go further than the car park to realize that it is a shamble and I guess a shell of its former self. But if you look at the way we have treated sport in this country, it is no wonder that we are churning out less and less athletes, that we have less and less record breakers and holders in this country, and that countries like Jamaica, higher up the islands, are surpassing us. I mean, after Keyshawn Walcott, who did we have to really bring, I would say, honor and a sense of pride to Trinidad and Tobago? There are two incidents that I remember in terms of sporting, four, and none of them are in the recent history. Hazley Crawford, Atto Bolden, when we had that World Cup, that we made it into the finals but never made it past our first match, and who was the other? And Keyshawn Walker. Those were the sporting major historical sporting moments that I remember. But in terms of sport and youth, we have so many youths right now, Natalia and Tahira, who I could imagine want to become involved in sports but have no proper avenue to be involved in sports. Look at the Gymnastics Association. Look at what we did to that young lady when we brought in Marissa Dick from wherever she came from to represent Trinidad and Tobago. Look at what we do to our aspiring athletes and professionals here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Felicia, all you have to do is take a look around, and most of the times, take a look around the strongholds, and you will see young men and women taking part in sporting events in their communities. You will, particularly, I grew up, and I can talk about there is that they have courts, and the courts are really dilapidated, but they still go there and they practice basketball. You know, it have a netball side higher up. It has people willing. They like running and stuff. The thing is, right? When you finish primary school, and I can make this an example because of my cousin who does running in primary school, and if you don't go past that and go, get somebody to professionally train you in that aspect, there is no linkage between secondary and primary school sport activities. It's like they say, okay, come run for, um, oh my god, for the North, the North games or the right? And but after that, what there after that, there is no linkage between, okay, you used to run in primary school, right? Let's see if we can get you back into running into secondary school. And then when you enter secondary school, it's a whole ball game. Yes, you probably still have running, but there's like rugby and there's a bigger football side or something like that. But then again, there's still no linkage from secondary school into tertiary education, because you can't go into secondary school and say, hey, I want a football scholarship, but where am I getting that football scholarship? You can't say, hey, I want a basketball scholarship, where am I getting that basketball scholarship? It seems that in Trinidad and Tobago we focus on the academics more than we actually focus on other activities. Sports is just one, but it's one that it's an activity that could change the course of Trinidad and Tobago and the young people in it. But we never look at that. Okay, you're going into secondary school, your options are doctor, lawyer, nurse, anything like that. But if you say, we could probably invest in these young people and allow them to make money off of a sport, right? Because that's what they do in America. They take brand deals and they advertise for Nike and all kind of stuff. And these basketball and these football players, they make money off of sports, but yet in Trinidad and Tobago, a very small island at that, right? We have young men and women that are not academically inclined or are both academically and physically inclined, and they still can't get anywhere with it.
That's so very true what you just said there, Natalia. My best friend, her brother loves football actually. He was not very academically inclined, like you pointed out, and after school he wanted to play football, but there here in Trinidad and Tobago, you have to know somebody to get a link to get into the TTF. You have to again, everything. You have to know somebody and you have to talk to this one and pay this money. Whereas in the United States of America, in Canada, in Europe, in Germany, they have scouts come into the school, scouts that are looking for young um potential minds, people who are showing an interest in sports, and they nurture you from young. They feed into they train you,
Yeah.
they play to your athletic side, they tell you how you can go about getting a scholarship. Like I said, my friend, her brother, he had to leave this country. He had to go abroad to join a university abroad that had a program that allowed him to study in the event he did not make it in sporting, as well as do what he likes in terms of playing football. And I'm asking, why don't we have that here in Trinidad and Tobago? We have UWI Spec. UWI Spec, a big open field that does what for our students. I know what UWI Spec used to be for me when I went to UWI. That was where we used to have fests and things. That was what UWI Spec was
It
known for.
still is.
All the fests and the end of year parties and all that rubbish. But in terms of actual sporting, in terms of churning out real athletes, people who can represent Trinidad and Tobago on a national level, we have left those people behind. We have left those youth. Look at those children that we saw on sea lots on the beach with the police lying down on the ground and stuff. People are asking, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, why they were out there, what they were doing. Where is the basketball field for them to go and play on? Where's the football field for them to go and sweat on? Right here in Belmont, when I was doing local government elections, one of the things that the youths in the terrace keep telling me, we have a field, Felicia, we have a field, but look at it, razor grass growing tall on the field. Yet, I'm listening to an advertisement on Boom Champions advertising rent a field for X amount of hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, what? Why do you have to pay? Why do we in a country you have to pay to rent a field for you to play and sweat on and take and have recreation and enjoy recreation on when we have so many open fields, so many grounds that have been neglected, so many areas that the youths just want to be able to go and burn out some sweat and burn out some energy rather than take that energy and go and put it into what's crime and drugs. Belmont is an area where crime has its ebbs and flows, and right now I guess it's a ebb, but but because we are the
But what
coronavirus lockdown. But when you look at it, where and what do the youths in Belmont have in terms of recreation, in terms of sporting, in terms of athletics, in terms of channels to really let that energy go? To Hira, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was referring to the pool that the PNM built in Laventille.
Yeah.
Yes, that pool that you build that is supposed to put out world class athletes. That pool that you're talking
Forget
about.
it, Felicia. Forget it. That. Do they have, first things first, do they have any coaches assigned to that pool? Do they go? Secondly, right? Yes, you put it in that particular area. Do you communicate with the MP or the councillors that represent the different factions in that area and say, hey, we putting up a pool here. You're the councillor. You're the MP, right? You're the MP. Go talk to the councillors. Let the councillors go into the communities, go around, talk to the young people, see who wants to get interested into swimming. They can probably swim for Olympic team, Trinidad and Tobago, next how much couple of years. Let's get them into this. The councillors will take the names from their community, bring it to the MP. The MP will take the contact information, call the parents, said, and even if they want to make it into something economical so that the $20 every month or probably $30 every month, and that will pay for the upkeeping of the pool grounds, that will help pay a cleaner to come clean the grounds and make sure it's always running up to par for these swimmers to be there. They have lifeguards there. What is the last thing I think they had there? I think the last people that I had there was people from the defense force. And this comes back to why do yes, we know it's a hotspot. Why do you treat people like criminals? Right? You have a pool, and what you put there is defense force people. Instead of making the pool work for the constituents in Laventille, you make it seem like it's the hardest place to get in. Or you always need some kind of protection. Yes, you need protection, right? I'm not saying no, but really, you can do so many things. You can put that pool to use. You can make that pool work for the constituents, but yet you don't.
Especially for the young
Isn't
people.
isn't that pool now a fetting ground, or was it, or is it going to be in the future? Because
If it was what,
more than,
sorry?
was it ever a fetting ground? No. Have they parties there? Are they going to throw parties there in the future? Why isn't that pool used for something more constructive than that?
The thing is, Natalia, this government has a notorious reputation of putting the cart before the horse. So we built a pool, we filled it up, we put defense force around it to guard it, and we never considered a real actual program. We never considered hiring the right staffing and the right coaches, like you pointed out. We never considered having a schedule for swimming on one day, aqua aerobics on another day. We didn't consider these things because you know what, build a pool and the people will come. And you know what, the people probably did come for the first 2 3 days, the first week. Yeah, we have a pool, and then what? And for those who the children who are able to rise above, and the child who doesn't want to be home, and has an abusive mother or father, and the pool is that area for him to isolate himself, and really take his mind off of his circumstances. No doubt it would probably be a benefit or a plus to him. But in terms of actually us as the leaders of the country, well, them as the leaders of the country, us having a real plan for people, there seems to be none. There never seems to be any. And the thing
Felicity,
is,
I just
what
gave
would
them a
reason?
plan. I just gave them a plan. You can go to the MPs, let the MPs talk to the councillors. The councillors go inside that community, right? Get names of many young people that are interested into swimming, into, aqua
Do your
aerobics,
own
into
scouting.
synchronized swimming. Get those contact numbers, contact the parents, $30 a month, or even because it's Corona, cancel the fee, right? Cancel the fee, use that $30 a month to help clean up the area, pay people to come inside and clean up the area. You get coaches to volunteer their time, right? Volunteer their time, or pay them half the amount that they get paid, because it is in an at-risk area, and it's more about helping the people than somebody making a profit off of it. Get them near, help them, and then let them achieve great things. You have Olympic swimmers, Olympic athletes coming out of that pool. That is a plan right there. I mean, it needs to be more defined, but I leave that up to you. That's not my job.
What you described there, Natalia, is, I mean, it sounds really nice, and if it could be implemented, would go such a long way towards keeping the at-risk youth out of trouble. But from everything that we've seen, from the price of the pool to the cost of the live sport initiative to watching sports and track and field just go down the toilet, to watching stadium after stadium being built with no real plan or use for it other than to throw fetes and carnival parties. The clear interest is in making upfront money from this, but not really developing the minds of the people, not really investing in sport in a way that can bring lasting returns. You see, a country and a government that is thinking, let's invest in our people, would not be considering building stadiums that cost billions of dollars in cost overruns that fall to shambles, like the Atabolan Stadium and soon to be the Brian Lara Stadium, like every other stadium that we have felt that we absolutely needed to build and then left to rot there. That money would have been invested in actual sporting programs. It would have been invested in that initiative that you're talking about, $30. Let's be honest, $30 in Laventille is a lot of money. $30 for some at-risk communities and people who are living in poverty. That is a meal. That is groceries for a day or two. That is the reality. So why not make the money count? Why not make the money or put the money where it can actually bring long lasting returns, not just fill up the pockets of people, the contractors hired to build and outfit these sporting facilities and then leave them to rot so that in the next 10 years we have to hear that we have to pay $20 billion in maintenance. Why not do that? Why not do that? Because it's not in the interest of the people who making the money up front to do that. And that's just the reality. Sports has fallen to the roadside. For we have started declining in our in the athletes that we have put out and in the quality of athletes that we put out. We look at already the drama that the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association is being named in right now. All of it is linked back to corruption. All of it is linked to taking money that is supposed to actually go towards advancing the youth and developing the youth and putting it into the pockets and the hands of people who were put in charge of helping and developing the youth, but took that money and did other things with it. That is our legacy right now as it pertains to sports. So when Atabola left to take his ideas and his brain, all of his I guess his ideas and his brain thrust outside of Trinidad and Tobago. It makes sense. It makes sense because why waste that energy here in a country that has no real interest in developing sports the way it should? If it had a real interest, it wouldn't be keeping the youths back and it wouldn't be spending money unnecessarily, and there would never have been a live sport, and there would never have been an investigation into the TTFE. We would actually have athletes that are doing well. We would have we had the capability of creating the next Usain Bolt. That's what we had right here in Trinidad and Tobago. And think of the fact that the next Usain Bolt was probably sitting down right in your community or in my community or in Tahira's community, but just never had the opportunity, hope and opportunity. We talk about it in everything. It exists in the sporting world as well, but like everything, we have even found a way to corrupt that. So, anything else to add on that before we move on?
Felicia, we could corrupt anything. We could corrupt anything. My great aunt used to say, and she says it every time she's here in Trinidad. She says, Natalia, if God comes, we'll probably corrupt him too. And she makes it as a joke, but the reality is, it probably is as serious as that. We corrupt everything. Any and everything we could get our hands on, we corrupt it. We don't even sit and say, this is a good initiative. Let's just not add in any extra spark to it, any extra something that's going to make it dilapidate in 5-10 years. We don't.
But a lot of people, especially young people, would look at. Hello?
We're hearing you.
Yeah. A lot of young people would look at politics as corruption. They will say how they all end up in corruption, that politics is the only way in Trinidad. You're looking like you could only earn money, but you can combine corporates. But the real is that is not true. Is who we put in power and what are their intentions after they get the seat.
Your intentions is a great, it has a great part to play in it, and it's why we have in the Progressive Empowerment Party been fighting the uphill battle that we continue to fight with convincing people that our intentions are not the same as the intentions of the politicians that they have seen and experienced for the past 57 years. Reason being, we are not connected to the financiers who have an interest in getting back 10 times and 100 times their returns that they pump into these political parties and into these politicians and their campaigns prior to them being elected into office. We, Natalia, Tahira, Felicia, Sean, Philip, all of us, Satish, we are all citizens who just got fed up of things being as they are, and we stepped up to the plate because evil prospers when good men do nothing, and this is our opportunity to try and do something. It's never been done before, and I have to say that there's never been a political party that did not break off from something that is not connected to the 1% class. We have been created and we are beholden to nobody, and because of that, like I said, there's never been a political party that has gotten this far as we have gotten, and we can't ever underestimate the size and the impact of the platform on which we stand, because Trinidad and Tobago has been one thing. I know when I heard about the Progressive Empowerment Party, I felt like I have found the light. I have found the answer to everything, every problem that I had with politics. And I know as youth and young people, well, clearly because you're here in leadership positions in the youth arm of the political party. And I do want to segue into that topic, youth in politics. We hear a lot that youths are not interested in politics. What, from you, Tahira and Natalia, what is your take on that?
Well, for me, I would say in Trinidad, a lot of youths will just turn a blind eye when it comes to a new political party, because they will tell you that because of the UNC and the PNM, the history we have with them here, that they would think that this new political party will end up in corruption, just like the just like the other two. And some of them might become over defensive over their stronghold, like who they like they want to vote for, their parents, they what they grew up with, you know. And that is like what has become like cause a lot of division, I guess, in the country with politics. And when it comes to the youth now, they become not interested. So when it comes to any press conference, they might not tune in. When it comes to reading the newspaper, they mightn't read it. They might just go to their phones and read what the prime minister say on the whole. Like, okay, 2 weeks added. They won't sit down and like watch the entire thing. I don't think any youth will actually be interested in that.
Right, Felicia, talking about that, I remember after a few times meeting with the Progressive Empowerment Party, Philip Edward Alexander came to me and he was like, Natalia, you're a youth. I want you to, try to build up the youth arm. Now, I am Natalia Moore, and up until that day, I had no interest in politics, and up until that day, my entire family was PNM. Swear. And I'm the only person who is progressive, and most of them are still into that PNM thing, and they look at it and they kind of, and sometimes they can't even disagree with me when I tell them, this is the truth, this is the facts. I'm not lying to you, I'm not giving you my personal opinion, this is the facts. And sometimes they can't disagree with me because it's the truth, right? But as a teenager, even though that was their political siding, I wanted nothing to do with that, because my mother used to always tell me, Natalia, at the end of the day, what are you getting? How do you benefit from siding with the PNM? Because you live in Laventille, first of all. You live in a community where there is literally no water for weeks on end. You literally only survive because there's a spring at the end of the road. You have to fight every day to find money in your pocket or to be able to eat something. And it's true. So when I heard about the Progressive Empowerment Party, and this is what I want to tell young people out there, don't just take my word for it or Tahira's word for it. Listen, because if I didn't listen and if I didn't do my own research, I would not want anything to do with politics. If I didn't understand what the Progressive Empowerment Party was all about, I wouldn't want anything to do with politics. So do your own research. Take up the phone, listen to, as people like to say, Philip rant in one day. But it's not ranting, it's passionate. And if you don't understand it, you probably think it's ranting. Listen to one of his live videos one day and take any information and then go on the computer and type, what year did FIFA start, or what year was live sport, and go and dig into it and form your own opinion around that, and then decide, is he actually making sense? And then go and look into how does politics affect me? Because it does. At the end of the day, it does. Whether you like it or not, it affects your education. It affects your future career. It affects how you progress in a society that is currently digressing back to probably the dark ages. It affects who you are at the end of the day, who you're going to be, who your future children or grandchildren are going to be. The future is youth. The future is the young people who come up from society's treasures, and they grow despite not having enough water or enough sunlight. They grow and they become people in this very corrupted country.
A lot of people, when they hear Trinidad politics, like foreign people especially, like even though like, okay, we're 7 miles away from Venezuela, right? We're closer to them than Tobago. They would say that is our future right there, because we don't practice our democracy. We keep voting for the same party over and over again, and we're not considering new parties, new policies, new practices, or anything, or even raising our voices or protesting against what the government is doing to us. Like right now is our time to protest. With social welfare grant, NIS, nobody are getting their money.
Natalia, you said something earlier, and I want to circle back to that. You said that youths that they may end up voting for the party that they grew up in terms of tribal politics. My mother is PNM, my grandmother is PNM, so I vote PNM. My uncle is UNC, my auntie is UNC, so I vote UNC. But there's something, in my opinion, and feel free to disagree with me, there's something that's different about the generation of today. So when I grew up right at the start of the internet period. So I was actually growing up with the advent of the internet. So I I was just at the cusp of having knowledge at the tip of my fingers. And for me, it was exciting because it allowed and it opened up a world where I could read more and tap into information from across the globe. I don't just have to go and sit down in a library and pull out an encyclopedia that was dated 10 years, 20 years ago. I had information that was at my fingertips, ready, available, refresh the page, and the data updated. That is the world that I grew up in. You're a little bit younger than me. Okay, 10 years or so younger than me. Early 20s or late teens, and you actually grew up after social media and the internet was established. So you you've only ever known there to be internet and social media and all of these things. So I feel, at least in my opinion, you guys and your generation should have, or even be even more tapped into the World Wide Web and tapped into information. I mean, you'll spend half or three quarters of your lives on the internet. Daniel Jackson, he is forever on what, TikTok and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and Instagram all at the same time. And I'm like, I do not understand how you all young people live on social media like this. But
You'll get fed up by it,
being
don't worry.
well, I don't know how he doesn't, but being plugged into it all of the time also means that you have information readily available to you. How is it that, or let me ask the question this way. Do you think that gives you an avenue to learn or choose for yourself? Because me personally, yes, I grew up in a PNM household, but from the time I went to UE, I felt like I was opened up to a whole different world. I consider myself a critical thinker and I love to read. So in university, I was, trying new things, reading new things, joining different groups, different clubs, learning, listening. And over time, I realized that I was not a typical follow the sheep kind of person. And from there, I went and I developed my own course in life. I was the first person in my family to break away from that whole PNM till a dead kind of mindset. And because of me, others have since followed suit. But for you young people, you're growing up in the heart of information. Shouldn't it have been easier for you to break those ties, or is it that tribal politics has kept you, or has kept youth in your generation tied to what they came from?
Okay, it's a bit iffy, and I want to explain why I say that. So yes, we grew up in an internet age, but you have to remember that in Trinidad and Tobago, some people don't have access to internet. But for those who have access to internet, there's also there's also that politics, it off and it makes us a bit disenchanted. So we end up in the middle. We end up, if we're not voting tribal politics, because we kind of get away from that. We kind of have an avenue to get away from that, but we are not voting at all because we see it as it has nothing to benefit us. It has no good opportunities for young people come out of politics. So now you end up with a whole generation of young people in the middle. So it's either they is either they vote just because of voting's sake, just because that's what their family do, or you end up in the middle where it's like, okay, that doesn't benefit me, so I don't really have to vote. It's not going to benefit me. Am I going to get a pay raise? Am I going to get the opportunity to go to a good university? Am I going to get an opportunity to, further myself in sports and agriculture and welding or something like that? Is there an opportunity for me to go into technology? There isn't. There is an opportunity for that to actually benefit me. Are they going to pass a law that states, 50% of my education fee? Are they going to pass a law that benefits me? Or that states that juvenile criminals, opportunity to be rehabilitated so I can get a fresh start or a new beginning at life if I decide to make a mistake when I'm younger? No, I'm not afforded that opportunity. So you end up with a whole generation of people in the middle of it. Okay, I'm not going to vote. Politics has nothing to do with me. So now our biggest struggle is getting those young minds back on track and saying, it does actually have something to do with you. Don't get up and be the change you want to see in society, then you're going to suffer through this cycle, and you're not going to be the first one. Your children are going to also suffer through their children are going to suffer through the cycle. So you have to get their minds back on the track of it's time for you to be involved and youths to be the change for the future generations. That's what I think.
Tahira?
I definitely agree with her. We find a lot of youths not interested in politics, especially when it comes to voting. They don't see the sense in voting because there is nothing for them. They ask the question like, what is coming for me? Like, am I going to be employed? Yes, I have an opportunity to go UE. I have opportunities to other tertiary education like UTT, Costa. But after that university, where am I going with my degree? What am I doing with my CXC and CAPE? Is there any other option besides tertiary education? That, schools like the culinary school where you have to go, and the culinary school where you learn to cook, the hospitality. It's a lot of money you have to pay for that.
Especially in a country
And
that has a lot of people living in trouble, and you find a lot of young people that don't have money to go to university. And how
And
and then
that is what young
aside from
people look for, jobs. They want jobs. A lot of young people
aside
who
from
are not
that you
privileged.
aside from that, you have young people coming out with degrees and they don't have anywhere to place them. So now they said, okay, I have a degree, but what am I going to do with it? So you have people now going out of the country, and then there happens to be a brain drain. So they fly out and they establish themselves in
Yes.
different countries.
With,
Not just working for
obviously,
us.
their talents will be good use in a different country. They will find good use for their talents and their knowledge in a different country, not here, because there is no opportunity here for them. And they will tell the younger generation that too.
Well, I want to ask that question because as a youth right now, what is there? Is there anything amongst the youths where you say, I want to be an astronaut or I want to be a scientist? What is there? Anybody in your generation or in your classes that you would have done or in your circle, is there anybody with a hope and dream like that? Or is it just that we have people talking about, I want to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer?
Only that,
Where do
doctor,
we
lawyer, engineer. I don't think I ever heard
Because
anybody say they want to be an astronaut or a scientist.
that is it,
I
sir,
did
because
science,
when you
and
hear
like where do I become a scientist? Nihis? But what do they offer there for me to become a scientist? So I
Exactly.
didn't do science anymore. I went straight into business. It was, and even that is a struggle because being an entrepreneur, somebody who wants to be self-sufficient in the business industry, it is hard. So again, where are the opportunities?
and that's what I'm pointing out. I remember listening, it was last year, there was a report on the morning edition for Zir Mohammed three students from Trinidad and Tobago got scholarships to go abroad and study with NASA. NASA
Mm,
of all places. Listen, I would give, I think I'll give anything to have been one of those students because that to me is the opportunity of a lifetime. I wish that when I was younger, somebody had told me that dream bigger than being a lawyer and dream bigger than being a flight attendant and dream bigger than working in a bank. Dream as big as you would like to dream because not because you're in Trinidad and Tobago means you can't be what, you can't dream big. And even those students who left Trinidad and Tobago to go abroad, even them we messed up. We didn't pay their scholarship fee or they didn't get their money for the next term in the program. And I'm like, we could mess up anything, boy. And I say we can mess up anything because three children out of
Felicia?
thousands a drop in the bucket. Yes, I'm here. Three children is a drop in the bucket. And the fact that we had the opportunity to educate them outside and still messed up that opportunity for those children, it just goes to show how little attention we pay to the developing opportunities for our students. And the fact that we here in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't encourage children to dream big. We don't make it easy for them to dream big. So we send them to UE and we say, here, pick any
mhm.
degree you want. Do science, do agribusiness, do drama, and then when you come out, what can I do with my science degree? What can I do with my
Exactly.
agribusiness degree? What can I do with my drama degree? We have a Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. How much of that is linked to the school curriculum? How much of that is linked to our universities and tertiary education institutions where you can transition from having a dramatic. I remember when I was in UE, in my first year in UE, I acted in a play and nobody ever knew this. This is um hot information that y'all got here. I was a homeless person in a play, and at that point, I realized I loved drama, and I wanted to quit my degree, which was in human communications, and I did a double major in human communications and literatures in English. I wanted to quit that and go and pursue drama full time, but then you have to stop and think, okay, I have a degree in drama. What can I do with it? Where can I go with it? Am I just going to be one of those actors and actresses in Trinidad and Tobago who has a title, who has a degree behind their name, and then know where to go with it, and end up having to take a job and settle for something that I didn't want to do in the first place? Where are the avenues for this in Los Angeles? You can go to film schools and to where they scout for talent. We were talking earlier about sporting scouts. They actually come to the tertiary education institutions and scout for you from child childhood. This child, I think it was the daughter of Ronaldinho or the son of Ronaldinho. Some one of those footballers was signed before he was even born. He was signed to a club because they had the foresight to say, you know what? This man is a professional athlete. Chances are he passed on these genes to his children, and we are going to invest in him from now and nurture that and nurture him all the way to the Champions League. And this is the foresight that we are missing here in Trinidad and Tobago as it pertains to our youth. So when you all tell me that youths are disenchanted with politics, I completely understand, but I also know, Natalia, that you guys have a role in showing them just how politics plays a part in everything. The degree that they want to pursue and have nothing to do with um post their tertiary education is linked to politics. The career that they would like to get into and can't get into is linked to politics. The fact that they feel disenchanted with politics because of corruption is linked to politics. And you guys have a real task ahead of you in terms of helping them to see this link because the PP, the Progressive Empowerment Party, is all about hope and opportunity. And I know you guys are on a mission to spread that in your communities, and I need to know that it's something that youths are latching on to, because they need to know that there's hope for a country other than the country that we're living in right now. They need to know this information. And as part of the youth I'm hoping that you guys are dedicated to spreading that information to them.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know it's 9 o'clock and we have to take a break, but I just want to say something really quick. Somebody just commented on the live video. Eugene, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and he said, young people, use your vote as a 5-year contract to develop yourself and the country. Your future is your choice, use it wisely. And, I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Perfectly said, Eugene. Like Natalie reminded me, because I completely did not realize. I completely forgot. It's 9:01 a.m. We are going to take a short break. We will be right back. Please stay with us.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
Science says that countries that have the greatest number of home ownership among families have the lowest levels of crime. Trinidad and Tobago has massive poverty, runaway crime, and an economy that makes no sense to anyone looking in from outside. We also suffer from the impact of corruption and narco-trafficking dollars being hidden in real estate, driving the prices up and drying up the supply. Banking in Trinidad and Tobago, unregulated, our mortgage system creates a scenario where the average house, the average home, by the time it is fully paid off, would have cost the homeowner twice and more the value initially paid. The government can impact home ownership, redevelop the family, end crime, and take Trinidad and Tobago to first world status simply by securing the nation's borders to end the drug trade, and stuffing the containers on the port again to end the drug trade, to create a property tax system that calls for 0% tax on primary dwellings, a 5% tax on secondary homes, a 10% tax on third homes, 15% on fourth homes, and escalating until by the 10th house that you own is so onerous in taxes to keep that you have no choice but to sell it or pay full value of that house to the state every year. We need to do this to drive corruption dollars and drug dollars out of real estate and bring the prices back in reach with the average income, the average wage, the average salary. Trinbagonians do not get full value for their money, and that is a conversation we have to have. But when we're talking housing, to get the average person into their own home, it is a right and a privilege of the state to be able to offer to these people zero deposit, zero interest for up to 30 years on up to homes valued up to $1.5 million. This would reduce the mortgage payments to about $500 per $100,000. And if we remove the duties and the VATs and all of the taxes on all of the building materials and open the market to competition to drive the prices down, the cost of building the average 1,200 square foot starter home will not exceed $100,000. And with $500 a month as a mortgage payment, even minimum wage earners would be able to afford their own home. The numbers say that in countries where families own their own homes, crime is at its lowest. The Progressive Empowerment Party is very sure In fact, we're certain that of all the policies that we build our 21 policies on, home ownership is the most important of all the important ones. We propose zero deposit, zero interest for up to 30 years on homes up to $1.5 million. Normal bank lending criteria apply. In Trinidad and Tobago, no one policy has the greatest opportunity to impact upon the development of the society like home ownership. The Progressive Empowerment Party promises to make home ownership for all a central pillar in all of our economic development. I am Philip Edward Alexander, and this has been 3 Minutes to a Better Trinidad and Tobago.
And we're back. And if you're just joining us, we are here with Natalia Moore, who is the head of the PEP Youth Arm, and Tahira Mahadio, who is the chair of the Youth for the Central Hub. And we are discussing youth and everything youth. And just now we heard during the break an entire policy, an entire PEP policy explained on our home ownership policy. And for you, and we're talking youth here, guys, I know it was not exactly on the list of things to discuss, but I have to imagine that as young people, the idea of home ownership must seem like a very far away dream. I know for me, while I was working, thinking that I was making what was the nicest salary to be able to afford a home, walking into the bank and hearing, no ma'am, we will not be able to give you a mortgage, was one of the most heartbreaking things that I could have heard as a young person, hoping and wanting to make, start out on my own, have my own independence at that point in time. For you, Natalia and Tahira, what does the idea of home ownership look like? Do you even consider it as something that you can achieve right now in your life?
With the prices of land and houses, no. To be honest, I would prefer to live in my house where I grew up in. Because it's only me, my sister, my mommy, my father, and there's only 4 of us. So I don't really think this is the only home ownership I will have. I honestly don't see myself borrowing money from no bank or spending my life savings on a house.
Okay,
Natalia.
so owning a home is not realistic. That first things first, owning a home is not realistic. And let me rephrase that. It's not realistic in Trinidad and Tobago for somebody like me, for any young person in Trinidad and Tobago, it's not realistic. Because
That's
let's
true.
say you clear most of the educational bills that you build up over time from going to UE or going to a educational facility that offers learning in a different country. After you pay off those bills, home ownership is unrealistic. And let's say you do have an opportunity to own your own home, the prices of homes in Trinidad and Tobago, again, it's unrealistic.
And
So
don't forget, some people like to build their own homes, so the contractors too, the materials.
So by the time and some young people like me, I want to own the land that I'm actually living on. So after you buy the land, and then you have to, buy the materials, which I don't think is that expensive. But after you add labor and everything into that,
The
that's a few
labor is the
$1 million
money, though.
I don't want to
The
spend.
labor is the money. The labor and the land is the money. Not like the materials won't cost that much.
The PEP
And
policy for home the
a
PEP
ready to
policy
live
for
home
home
is
ownership.
around
Go ahead, Natalia.
Go ahead. A ready
No,
to
you
live
go
in
ahead.
home in Trinidad, in Trinidad and Tobago is around $2.5 million, right? That's a ready to live in. And if you want a ready to live in fully furnished and not semi furnished, because I've looked this up because I personally want to buy a house, it's around $4.5 million. Now, Felicia, tell me where am I getting $4.5 million? And even if I take out a mortgage, how long is it going to take me to pay that off?
You know, the
It's
rent in Trinidad is already high, though, so it's not surprising to me that, home ownership will cost that much. A decent apartment with hot water, cold water, Wi-Fi. Everybody sharing the same electricity box, but it's a lot of money. It's charging like 1,800 to 2,000 for one bedroom
22.
apartment.
22.
I was going to say earlier that the Progressive Empowerment Party policy for home ownership, if there was one policy that I wish could have been implemented now, if there was one policy that I wish the government could steal, it would be that policy. Just because me particularly as a young person, and as a very independent young person, the idea and the possibility of owning a home has always been a dream of mine. And going through the channels that I went through in terms of doing what is considered the right thing, going to school, getting a good education, finding a good job, saving enough money, going through and doing all of that, then still finding out that you would not qualify for a home because, like Natalia said, it's $4.5 million, or you'll be paying forever to pay back this loan, or you have to have a joint loan because your salary is not enough. Finding that out is very, I would say, despondent, because my two of my best friends are hearing a lot of feedback on somebody's end. I don't know if that's something you can mute. Two of my best friends left this country and went abroad, same age as me. They left right around the time I started uni. And we all three progressed at the same time in life. I went on to get a job. One of my friends, she decided to go on further and do her doctors. She got her doctorate. My other friend, she started working as an interior designer in New York. And we all three progressed at the same rate. However, there was a clear line in the sand, you can say, as it pertains to what I could have achieved and what I could not achieve, just because I was here based in Trinidad and Tobago. Two of them went on to have both went on to live on their own, and one actually purchased her home by the time she was 30 years old, and I was absolutely proud of her for that. But I also understood that the way Trinidad and Tobago was set up, and the opportunities that she had to be able to do that, get the finance and find a house that was within her budget, is something that is not available here for me in Trinidad and Tobago. And we were talking earlier about people leaving this country and going abroad. Independence is something that I know is big for a lot of young people. Some, yeah, I know they don't mind it. So it's just me and my mom, and we live together, and it's not a problem. But I know some people really want their independence. And we live in a Caribbean lifestyle where most parents are very traditional. So if you have a boyfriend or fiance, it's not like if he come home, sometimes he can't leave the porch and you all have to sit down outside. And you're big 25, 28, 30 something years old, and that is what you have to experience. And I know for some people it is a very difficult thing to go through as being young and wanting to start out on your own, wanting to start a family of your own. I know there are families, people who get married, have kids, and they can't afford to own their own home, so they still live in a room somewhere decided
I think she just got stuck again. Yes, but I do think what Felicia is saying is really true. Yeah, she's stuck. Right. And it is true, many of the Trinidadian parents, they are a bit
House or not.
traditional. Yeah, she's came back.
Y'all lost me for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it.
You stop.
Okay, you go ahead, Natalia. I'll pick up from where
Right.
you left before.
No, I was just continuing off of you when you said, many parents are traditional. And that is true. I am very independent. I am very independent. I like my own stuff, which is it's not weird, but it's very far off. So I would like my own car, my own house, my own space, because I like quiet, because I like to write books and stuff, because I'm an author at the side. So I like quiet, I like peace, I like my own stuff. So not being able to have like a house, or like even a car you can sit down in and write or type up, go into imagination and write the storyline, do something like that. I may not want to bring home somebody, but that would be my bit of freedom for me. And then, depending on if you live in a family oriented house, you have noise in the background. You don't have that space that you would like to have.
And that's a big thing. Having personal space is huge for many people. Just being able to, I know after a long day, one of the things that I love to do is just come home, hit the shower, and just isolate myself, because it's been a long day. You just want to refresh, you want to recharge, and sometimes you're not able to do that because you live in a household with 3, 4, 5 people. Your brother's still home, your parents still there, and it can be, I can understand that it would be frustrating for many young people to feel stuck. And I mean, if that is your choice and you don't mind doing it, not a problem, but you should still have the opportunity, if you so choose, to own and get your own home. But again, for many people, that is not even possible, because before that, some have to consider, they have to bother themselves with the fact that they can't even get a job. Like,
They can't even get a
Right.
job.
Yeah, that is what young people look at now. Like that is what they're looking for, work.
Natalia
Imagine
was saying,
you. He cut. I think Felicia just cut in. Felicia?
Felicia,
yes, I'm here.
Okay, right. So what I'm
you
saying
keep
is, you don't
cutting.
have a. Yeah, she was asking something just now. She cut again. Right. So, some young people don't have jobs. Some young people don't have jobs, but yet they have this, and they fall into that bracket. Or some young people, they have jobs, but they don't work for the amount that allows you to go to the bank and say, I work for this and this amount. I would like to, buy this house. Could you help me, mortgage it? So I don't work for the amount of money I should be working for. Don't work for the amount of money to allow the banks to help me acquire property. So, and then most young people in Trinidad and Tobago, they work for less than $2,000 every, which is weird. And I say that because most young people you see these days, and back to those communities, they end up falling into the bracket of I work in CPEP. And if you do come out of the I work in CPEP bracket, which is a thing, it's just they don't get paid enough for the jobs that they, you fall into the bracket of, okay, I work in the restaurant industry, and yes, you work for probably $4,000 a month, which is like, and I'm exaggerating when I say $4,000 a month, which is approximately $2,000 every 2 weeks. You still don't make enough for you to be able to afford a house. I think she's sticking again. Tahira? Hello? Hello?
Hello. Hello,
Yeah,
hello, hello.
Felicia?
You're getting me? I don't know what's up with
Yes.
the internet today. I think Saturns jinxed me yesterday. I had perfect internet and
Again.
Again.
I actually barely
Not-
hear all the two words. If I try another time, I barely hear. I only
today it
hear
seemed
like
like
cut.
Are you back, Alicia?
I would like to think that I am back, but I am not sure.
And I'm barely
Am
hearing
I?
any words.
Yes, you are back, Felicia, and I am hearing you, Tahira, but I have no idea why you're not hearing us.
I don't know why y'all are not hearing me. Again, my internet is just me on it, so let us hope that we can continue the program without further interruptions. Are you hearing this? Yes? No?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
All right, moving on from the topic of home ownership, you ladies also wanted to discuss the fact that, or you asked the question, do we treat children like criminals? And I want to touch on this because I know um, Natalia and Tahira, you had a special interest in us disseminating this topic and going into it. What were your ideas when you raised this as a topic to discuss today?
Well, the Guardian, was it the Guardian? One of the newspapers in Trinidad and Tobago, they sent out, they printed it, where they say ex-magistrates were saying, we treat children like criminals. And when I dug into that, it's a bit true. We don't have proper rehabilitation centers for young children, and especially male society, because yes, you would have the females committing acts, but most of the criminal activities and are in Tobago at this time are committed by young males. We don't have a proper system in place to deal with it. Make a mistake in life, right? And then they throw you in a juvenile prison. I want to say prison, but I'd like to say
We
juvenile
have
detention
YTC for the
center.
young boys. The white, I think you're referring to YTC.
Yeah, but what actually goes on in YTC? They do woodworking. They come out with what, a certificate, or do they do electrical and
Or
come out with a certificate?
do they have proper counseling for their
Do they have
behavior?
proper counseling? Again,
Because
we have.
I personally know a counselor that used to work inside YTC, and she was telling me that how it had a morning she walked in and she saw a boy beating a next boy with a hose, and the security stand up right there doing nothing.
So I don't understand how you can. You say fine, right? You commit an offense, we put you in YTC, we put you in one of these institutions, but does it really help? Is it really a rehabilitation center? You talk to these young men in society and get the issue out, because I always bring this up. I live in a specific region at Trinidad and Tobago that when police or people in authority come into that area and they catch these young males, these young boys in society doing something that they should not be doing, the first thing that they want to do, and I personally experienced this one because I was looking on by accident. I happened to exit my gate the same time it was happening and I saw it happening. The first thing that they do is that they beat up on these people, and then you wonder why the parents and the older folks in the community always say, they're taking advantage and they're doing this and because at a point it is true, they do come into these communities and they do beat up on young males, and they don't actually take the time and say, hey, you're doing this, why are you doing this, let's get to the root of this problem. And most situations in Trinidad and Tobago, you find that they put a plaster on it, and they don't solve the root of the issue, and then they expect young males in society not to go into crime or not to display a certain behavior. Why is that?
But the picture I saw, right, from the news, from the papers, I saw it was young little boys, like 10, 9 years, with their hands out, lie down on their belly. It wasn't teenagers. It was obviously they got carried there because of their parents. If you had to rough up anybody, you have to be the parents. You can't rough up a 9-year-old child who just listening to orders or the parents tell them to do. Come, let me go and bathe in the beach. To hell with this quarantine. And the way he spoke to them too, it was kind of unethical.
My comments on that again, and this is where we may have differing point of views because we spoke about it to an extent yesterday on the program, and I tend to agree with Natalia to an extent where she mentioned the fact that what do we have for these young men, these young boys, in terms of opportunities for them. From what I know in terms of the video, it was not, they weren't there with their parents. It was just a group of young boys ranging from 10 to probably 14, 15, 16, out breaking the quarantine or self-isolation rules, and being disrespectful while they were at it, because it was F the police and F Gary and all of that, F quarantine and F COVID. So they were young, but they were clearly some unruly little children that lacked discipline. But let's look into the lives of these children. Let's do a deep
Yeah,
dive.
the
And if you
attitude came from
Exactly.
somewhere.
you'd
The behavior
probably
came
see
from
that
somewhere.
you'd probably see that they are, like Tahira say, their behavior. If you look into their family lifestyle, the mother just probably talk like that. Or the father just probably talk like that. The mother and father probably weren't even home, and you have a lot of that happening here in the country. Where I remember seeing somebody put up a status. This person lives in the States. How young or what is the age at which you can leave a child home? And I thought about that question in relation to Trinidad and Tobago, because I know here, right here in Trinidad and Tobago, people leave their children home from as young as 5, 6 years old, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. But the way the society is set up, especially in our lower and our poorer classes, the classes that live in poverty, you can't afford a daycare service or you can't afford a babysitter. You're living and you're working two jobs, so you leave the child home from young. They get caught up with liming with the other young boys and girls in the community, and before you know it, you have another statistic at your hand. We were talking earlier about the lack of play fields and recreational facilities and extracurriculum activities for these young children. So obviously they're going to get caught up in the wrong things. And I mean, the putting them to lie down on the ground part, I am two minds about it, because I was speaking yesterday to Hadassah and Akil, that telling them that I used to watch Maury. I don't know if you all know about Maury. That might be before your times. It's a daytime program similar to Jerry Springer, but not as bacchanalish and controversial. And there used to be episodes with these children who would come on the program, and they were bad behaved children, you can describe them as. And these children would be like cursing at their parents and disrespectful, and you're trying to talk to them. And at the end of the program, they would round up all of these children and send them to a boot camp, which was manned by this very tough military guy, big, strong, strapped man. And he used to send them doing all kind of physical activities, running up and down. And I mean, it was accompanied with life lessons and stuff like that. But it was a tough love approach to dealing with children who you would consider out of hand or unruly.
Stuck again? Right, as Felicia was saying before she got stuck there, I don't have a problem with the tough love approach. I have a problem when you literally come into a community or you see somebody doing something that is unethical, that shouldn't be done at all, and then you take it upon yourself to really beat up on this person without actually finding out what it is about. And yes, we have young children in Trinidad and Tobago that do the most ridiculous thing, and you wonder how is this possible. But then we also have to take into consideration this is a cycle. This is a cycle, and during the years, during the more recent years, the cycle has become young parents having kids, and they themselves are young people. They themselves do not know how to raise a child properly because they are still a child. And so you have them exhibiting behavior in front of this
Yes.
child. You have them cussing and acting like they're still yes, they are still a teenager, and they haven't matured to that point as yet in front of this. So and then they find this child doing things crazy, and the parent is saying, hey, this is so cute, and they're taking a picture, they're taking a video, and the first thing that they do is put it up on Facebook. Oh, my child say F you, and they, oh, it's so cute, let me put this
I
up on
don't know
Facebook. It's
why is that so
ridiculous.
cute to actually teach your children to curse, to back answer. Oh, no, she being independent, she being odd, she being different. It's so cute. And when that behavior you teaching them, it's gonna grow with them. It's gonna grow with them as a toddler, it's gonna grow to them as a teenager, and that behavior is gonna be taken outside. And yeah, as I said, it's a cycle. Watching the article I read, you said it was what ages to 15, 14 to 15, with the
It's on, like,
8-year-olds
10,
and 7-year-olds.
yeah.
Yeah, they would. That is a cycle right there. They're carrying the younger ones with them, and all I saw was the younger ones on the ground. You should
It's
have. I mean, if you really have to rough up anybody that was involved in that, it should have been the 15-year-olds. Rough them up. Don't rough up the little ones, because they will cry. They would not know what's going on.
It's ridiculous, and also you have to take into consideration that they, to a point, do not know what is actually going on. They don't have a complete understanding of the entire situation. They're just thinking, oh, look, my cousin going down Muddy River, or oh, look, my
Yeah.
brother going down Muddy River, and he's older
And
than me. So they don't have an understanding that it's wrong, and they shouldn't be doing
yeah.
it.
And as Felicia stated, some of the children are left home alone. So if there's anything, they would see that their neighbor or their cousin who's 15 years old as an adult. They will look at them
Yeah.
as an adult. An 8-year-old
They
look at
would
a 14-year-old as an adult, and they will follow them. Anything they do, and they will say, okay, we come in. They want to go online, they will go online too.
And I know this for a fact. These little children, most times, I remember when I was a bit younger, and my cousins, I would be like, Grandma, going to the shop. And my cousins would run behind me and be like, hi, I want to come to the shop with you too. And I'd be like, okay, come on. And it's just the shop that we're going. But I don't see any harm in it, right? Because I'm not old enough to
It's a
understand
shop.
that. But then it's a shop, right? It's complicated, but at the same time it's simple. And I agree with the tough love, but I agree that you must take steps before you end up in the tough love. You must talk to these young
Yes.
men and women. In Trinidad and
Because
Tobago we have
they
this.
probably getting that harsh talking at home. So if they see that other people could treat them differently, they could give them hope that that there is something different than other ways in behaving like that, the way they are accustomed seeing from their parents. And then if you decide to carry them to YTC, that is the place to send these miserable youth boys. What does that service have to provide productivity with them?
Hi, Felicia, you're back.
You
I
just
am
log off
back.
and you went.
And listen, I was talking a mile a minute and only realized that I was cut off probably at the end of it when I was looking at the screen. I was like, wait, Natalia and Tahira are listening very intently. And then I realized it was frozen and my entire internet had dropped off the map. So yes, I am back on. And I'm sorry that I would have missed the discussion, but I see you would have continued talking about the youths. And just to summarize what I was quickly saying, it was just that, while I appreciate and I understand the need sometimes for a tough love approach, it's the same when I think about the fact that we don't have hope and opportunity for these youths, when I think about the fact that, yes, we're dealing with them from a disciplinary level now, but what about the actual the social impact of what we're doing? The fact that these children are from societies and areas that are well-known hotspots, that they may not have access to the same level of opportunity that another child from a different area or different income, a family with a different income might have. These are the things that I think about, and I think as a nation itself, we are leaving a lot of our youths behind. And I wish that there were a different way that we could have dealt with that situation. And tough love is necessary. Just like we send people to prison when they misbehave, but rehabilitation is also necessary, giving them an opportunity to be different. Because take that same child and put him in a different environment, chances are he will not be the same person that you saw lying down on the ground with his hands out, reciting lines given to him by the TTPS.
Exactly. One other thing
Yeah.
that I was telling Tahira just now is that, we have to take into consideration most of these in the recent years, most of the younger generation of young people are,
Hello?
they come from families that are, they come from families that
Hello?
have young parents. Hi, yeah?
Yes, Sierra, we're hearing you.
E- Yes, so I was telling her just now that, it's young parents raising children and like children raising children. Otherwise, they have young children, 18, 19, still in that teen age that don't know how, yes, they are a teen and yes, they're closer to being an adult, but they don't have that proper maturity to say, hey, I'm having a child. There's some things that I need to change about myself. And then you have them cussing and behaving like my grandmother used to say, a wajang, right in front of these children and that behavior that they grew up with. Sorry. Go ahead.
Did I cut off by chance or is Simi cut off?
No, we are still here
Yeah.
and we seeing you and we talking to you live on the show. Are you
No,
hearing us?
yeah, but my screen went blank for a while now, so I thought,
No,
No.
sometimes that happens, but you're still here, you're still in. I do want to say we have about 20 minutes left for the program, which got very much derailed by all of these technical difficulties. Let us assume that Fridays are extremely busy, but you can call in to speak to Natalia and Tahira, ask them any questions that you would like to ask. The number to call in or call via WhatsApp is 769-4590. We are talking everything youth today. We are talking everything that affects and impacts the youth, and we're hearing from the youth themselves on we're hearing their perspective, their version of how things are in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as their own recommendations of how things can be better. I think the fact that we did not have a youth on that COVID-19 response team and COVID-19, but post COVID-19 team was a real shame, and it is also a real testament to the fact that we don't take youth affairs very seriously in this country. They are the future minds, and every time I see us neglect to invest properly in our youth, I see it as a neglect to invest in our future. At some point, you guys, we will be running this nation, but what is the generation ahead of us putting in place to ensure that we have the tools and the capacity to run it the way we should? I know people go to work in the public service and feel so stifled because their ideas and their creativity is shunned, and they're told, no, that's not how we do things. Hey, I had an internship in the Ministry of Agriculture, very short stint, it's a 2-month summer program, and my capabilities were resigned to writing and creating flyers and posters that never got published, never got printed. And it was demoralizing. And I think about all of the young people who have permanent jobs in the public sector in areas that they would like to bring their own brain thrust and their own knowledge to, but can't because they're being told that's not the way we do things, or fresh ideas is going to stop the gravy train, or stop or I guess for some people and their egos, they don't like to think that young people come in and take in their jobs and stuff like that, which is so ridiculous because young people are the future. We are the future. And rather than fighting us, they should be bridging a gap between old and young, between old ways of doing things and new ways of doing things. Technology has advanced and it has allowed us to find creative ways of doing the same thing that we used to. But again, our youths being given the opportunity to do that. 7694590, call in if you'd like to talk to us. Natalia and Tahira, there was something you guys also mentioned with regards to us, with regards to the youths and things that impact the youth. You were mentioning having positive reinforcement for youth. I would like to touch on that because it's something I think that is lacking. Earlier this week, I was asking if we knew of any real role models in our society. And I'm not talking about in your house or in your circle of people. We all know somebody that we can say is a positive force in our lives. But in the wider society, do you feel like that there are any role models in leadership, in government that you can look up to? Natalia laughed.
No, you should have a right to laugh because it's a joke. It's not, no, we have none. I will
Who
not
am
to
I
say
supposed to
that
look up to?
who am I supposed to respect in politics? Like right now, seeing my
Okay,
leaders that
so
represent.
if there's anyone I could say I look up to in politics, it is the councillor for Belmont East, Nicole M. Young. That's the only one. And there are two councillors, Nicole M. Young and Abba from Port of Spain South. Those are the only two councillors that I see doing something for their communities. And that is a very long shot from what I know you're asking, Philistia, which is actually in the government positions, the MPs
No,
and the
no,
parliamentarians.
I
But that
actually,
is the
and if you didn't,
only.
I actually ran against Nicole Young for Belmont East local government elections back in 2020. And I would say this, as much as Nicole is in the PNM and as much as she is, from that side of the fence, I think that she is a very, in my opinion, and this is on a personal level, I think she's a very bright and hardworking young lady, obviously just working for the wrong party. And I have friends in the PNM. I know counselors in the PNM. I went to I went to university, and you would actually find that from the university level, there are politicians being trained. I knew Helen Morian, who is now the counselor for Port of Spain South, actually that's a very good friend of mine. Khadija Amin, she ran for the Guild of Students. Khadija is now the youth deputy political leader. I think she's now the deputy political leader of the UNC. Actually had a very interesting back and forth with Khadija back in the university when she was running for head of the Guild Council. I hit her some pepper. I didn't know that the pepper that I was hitting her was going to be literal pepper come 2017 when I joined the Progressive Empowerment Party, or PEP as we call it. And that was probably my first foray into politics. And I met and I know a lot of young people who would have grown up and now are heavily involved in politics. And like I tell those people, Helen, who I say is a good friend of mine and always ask me, why the PEP, I always tell them, I said, I think that y'all are brilliant. I think that you have a lot to offer society. You're just doing it for the wrong party. And I say you're doing it for the wrong party because you can't expect to bring new ideas into an old way of doing things. And the
Yes.
old way of doing things in the PNM, as we know it, is bubble and corruption and whatnot. And you're fighting, and they're fighting against a system that, in my opinion, would only overcome them. The just what we were talking about earlier about the young people who trying to bring new ideas into the public sector and being stifled is the same thing that's happening with the youths in the PNM. You think that those young people don't look at people like Coleman Booth and Stuart Young and Faris with disdain? I know for a fact that there are many people in the PNM. One thing they're good at is hiding how they feel about each other publicly, which give jackets jackets. I guess that's the way you have to act in an organization. If you don't like somebody, you keep your feelings to yourself. But I know for a fact that a lot of these young people look at the older generation of the PNM with a sense of apprehension and a sense of disdain. But in my opinion, and what we are seeing is they have very little hope of changing that, because behind the PNM is the people who pull the strings in the PNM. And as much as they
Exactly.
would like to climb and change things, and I believe they are good people who try to change things in the PNM, as much as they would try to, they find themselves being caught up in the old way of doing things. They find themselves following that line because, like I say, you can't change something that is fundamentally bad. That is why there is a progressive empowerment party. That is why we started an entire new movement, because we understood that we can't be a break off or a breakaway or trying to change a dirty system. You have to start anew. You have to start fresh. You can't wear the same old clothes and expect to smell nice. You have, I'm sorry for using that analogy, but it is the analogy that I think would resonate with the people. So the Nicole Youngs, like I said, I ran against her for elections, and I think she's a very smart young woman. But I do think that should she progress further with the PNM, that she may have no choice but to become and fall under and fall in line with what they represent. And you find that happening a lot. And I encourage people like Nicole, come over to the PEP. I think Daniel Jackson talks to Nicole, come over to the Progressive Empowerment Party, come and use your brain, your brains for, and put it towards something and help grow a movement rather than fight up in a old party that's stifling your ideas for the sake of finances and people that they are
Yeah.
beholden to. Natalia, let me say something.
Yeah, I was saying, in that situation, you end up in a situation where you're in between a rock and a hard place. Because this is an idea, this is a very good idea, right? This idea could go and progress the country very far. But then you end up between, you go carry it to somebody who you think could help you bring it to life, and then that person says, oh well, I did this one and that one, and then when you do talk to the other person now, it's no, we can't do that. That's not how things go. That's not how we run. That's not how we run the country. That's not how we want to change the community that you're up for. And you end up between a rock and a hard place. You could probably break down the rock, but you still end up in that situation where it's uncomfortable. So, and then most of the times you end up where, okay, so I'm going to do this. I need the funds to do it. I don't have the funds, but you could ask this one, or you could do a favor for that one, and you'll get the funds to make something. So why? Yeah, it's a very hard situation to end up. Somebody telling me once when I told the person, I want to be a political analyst. The person told me, it's best to do it with well parties. And when a few years ago, when I joined the Progressive Empowerment Party, the person was like, "Why are you doing that? You're not getting paid for that." And I was like, "Okay, if I get paid to do it or not, I'm doing it because I want to do it." And that is something many people have never understood about me. When I do something, I don't have to do it. I do it because I like doing it, because it's something that I want to do. I want to help people. I want to make a change. Getting paid to do it may be nice, but doing it just because I want to do it is even better. That means I'm doing it to my full capabilities and doing it from my heart, not because I'm getting paid to do it.
And that last part is most important. Doing things from your heart, it almost acts as a buffer against the immoral and unethical ways of doing things that tend to surface when people hear that you're involved in politics. And it's the same reason why I got involved. Knowing that this was a volunteer position, many people are surprised to know that I do not get paid for this, that I'm not collecting a large salary at the end of it, that there's nobody secretly sending me checks from the NLCB because I'm posting or speaking on behalf of the Progressive Empowerment Party, like you have some of those other political activists and analysts doing. And when they find out that I'm doing this out of heart, it tends to make them more, it tends to soften their opinion on me and the Progressive Empowerment Party, because they realize that for somebody and a group of people to do this and not get paid, it must really mean, like you say, Natalia, that they believe in what they're doing. And I do honestly believe in what we're doing. And you had mentioned something earlier about, you know, them counselors and not having money to do things. And that's one of the reasons why, like I say, I don't have anything personal against Nicole or any of my other friends who are in PNM and high places in the PNM. I don't have any problem with them personally, but I also understand that they are part of a system that is not fundamentally focused on being better, on changing. And for that same thing, money, Nicole is a counselor and my friends are counselors in the PNM. And I look at how hard they have to work on the local government level to fight up to get things like water. This week, Belmont didn't have water for 3 days, and Nicole was one of I see her name getting tagged all over. People saying, Nicole, what's going on, what happened? And I could imagine the poor girl getting frustrated because she is the one that they will turn to for water. But the reason why we don't have water is because we have a failed public utility system. And the reason why she don't have money to do what she needs to do in the constituency is because we have a failed local government system that makes no sense and does not fit into the scheme of things when you look at it. And the reason why she does not get money is because money that we allocating during budget time is clearly monopoly money, because we have a failed economic system. So all of these things, like I say, they tie into each other. And the PP plans to abolish local government and have a constituency board of supervisor and give somebody like Nicole Young, who seems to have a passion for the people, a real position of authority to actually do something other than be the person that people abuse when they don't have water in the taps. This is the reason why I will tell Nicole, come over to the PEP, come over to a party that has ideas that would make your job easier, that would make you not be the punching bag, for people when they don't have water in the taps, when the garbage not collected in time. Come over to a party that understands and gives you the tools to actually do your job, give you the money to actually do your job, empower you to actually do your job, not tell you you're a local government councillor, and then when you sit down in the position, you realize that you have no power or authority at all, which is the reality of local government here in Trinidad and Tobago. So, Hero, I know you're sitting down quiet in the corner there. We have just about 5 minutes left, so I want to give you a piece. Feel free to take
I
your time and
I think that your message should be go outreach to a lot of youths who are in PNM UTAM and UNC UTAM who have talent and who actually who in the game of politics for changing, for that whole believing of changing and want to do it with that act of passion. It actually, that message you give out, it should go directly to all of them, because we could make use of that. The pep party will make use of that. Unlike what you were saying, the PNM and UNC just using them as punching bags. You know, they have so much talent and so much things to give to the country, but it's being stifled down. It's not being used. It's not being looked at, and the pep party could make use of that in their own way.
Most definitely, Natalia.
Right. Uh, at the end of it all, I think young people need to take a step back, and this quarantine allows you to do that. Take a step back, look, listen, do your own research. Do not
The
let
quarantine,
this.
this quarantine should give young people an advantage right now to see what really going on with the country. See how your leaders really, if how there is, like how leadership is really played in once they get office. Watch how the country going right now in terms of jobs, agriculture, money. This is a time for them to actually take advantage of what is going on.
You see the choices that the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago have been making for the past 57 years now. You see the choices, you see the outcomes, you see the results or the non-results. You see everything. It is your decision to analyze it, to look through every single detail, and then to make your decision based on that. And at the end of it, you're going to be proud of yourself because you're going to think it was my decision. It was not someone else's decision. I formed an opinion based on the facts that I was given and the facts that I researched. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? You're gonna look at their record. You're gonna look at 57 years, and for that period I still can't afford a house, I still can't afford a car, I don't have proper opportunities in sports, drama, music. I don't have proper opportunities, and even if I go into the medical field, I don't get paid enough to do that job, right? I don't get paid enough in general. So you need, as a young person, you need to put that into perspective, sorry. And really form a decision around everything. Don't take my word for it, don't take Tahira's word for it. Go do your own research, make it your little pet project. Go do your own research. Make this quarantine time a time for you to sit back and say, hey, let me actually make a decision, and let me watch their track record, let me see what they've done. And if it doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit you. You make a choice, and more than likely you choose the Progressive Empowerment Party, like I have done. And you make the change. You be the change that you want to be. You be the change for the future generations in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah.
Natalia, thank you very much for that. And Tahira as well, thank you for joining us on the program today to discuss all things youth. I mean, this party is about hope and opportunity, and everything we discussed today was about hope and opportunity. And you two young ladies give me hope that, we have a chance with the youth population, that we have a chance to bring you young people just like yourselves, to educate them and get them thinking forward, get them thinking a better country, because at the end of the day, this is the country that you guys would inherit. And I know the idea is to make it the best country that it can be. I don't want you all to inherit a heritage and stabilization fund that is drained because of mismanagement and corruption. I don't want you guys to inherit a country that is inherently crime riddled. I don't want you guys to inherit a country where there's no hope and opportunity in terms of jobs, in terms of owning your own home, in terms of being anything that you want to be, because that is what, as young people, we try to encourage. Young people should know that they have a long life ahead of them to be and do anything that they want to do. To well, legally, of course, but of course, everything we're talking about here is legal. And the fact that we don't have that right now is sad, but the fact that we have young minds like you, Tahira, Natalia, and Adrian, and Antonio, and all of the members of the youth, Christian, the fact that we have that, like I say, it gives me hope for a better country, for the future of Trinidad and Tobago. Right now, we have reached the end of our program, and I would like to thank you guys for sticking with us, even through the technical difficulties. I know how frustrating that can be. Trust me, it is frustrating on my end as well, and to continue doing this, to continue on even after all of these technical glitches is really hard, but I do it because I love what I do, and I do it because even if you hear a piece of the information that I put out, at least you heard some of the information. Today, the Progressive Empowerment Party is going to purchase the hampers that we got from all of the donations we received this week to feed as many as 100 families in need. And I have to say that I am very proud of the efforts of everybody who would have contributed to making this happen. Like I say, it is a collective effort. I would like to thank Debbie Jaikaran for all of her hard work, Keisha Lewis, Hadassah, Charles McLeod. I'd like to thank all of the caretakers and shadow MPs, as well as hub leaders who would have been involved: Kezia Rampor, Theresa, Maki, so many names to call. Giselle from my finance team, Dion Andrews, Maurice, Matthew. A lot of names to call because we have a lot of people who are generous, who are kind, who want to do better, not just for the country, but for the people who can't afford to feed themselves, for people who can't afford right now to live, given everything that we're going through. So all of our overseas members who would have contributed and donated towards this cause, all of our overseas leaders who took part in this, who helped us put this initiative together, thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the Progressive Empowerment Party. If you would still like to contribute or donate, there is still time. You can call me on 769-4590. $150 is another hamper to feed one more family. So give me a call if you would like to get involved in that initiative. It's Friday. It's my rest day. Well, not really, because I'm about to go and deal with some hampers. It's a weekend ahead, and like I said, we are opening the show for you, the viewers, to be more involved. If you would like to send questions, send topics, send even names of guests that you would like to see on the show, please do, because we're changing up the format just a little bit, but bringing you the same level of information as well as entertainment that you're accustomed to on the Pep Talks in the morning show. Again, thank you for staying with us. And in the spirit of social distancing, remember, let us always stay together by staying apart. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.